uh, Florida, Prescott, New York, everywhere else. And it's nice because I know Michelle would love that. Even though her life was cut short, she lived a very full life. She really did. There was nothing stopping her from doing anything she wanted to do. And it proves to what we've done here, and I see everybody here. Michelle grew up in a humble beginning, grew up in Queens, Long Island, with her mom and dad, Dan and Ethel. Her sister Helene is here, and her other sister Phyllis, grew up in a really happy household. They grew up, not a problem, no worries. She graduated high school, skipped a year. She's pretty smart, and I always wondered why she married me. It's it's made to this day. It's for a lot of reasons. I wonder why, but again, started working right away. Got a job with the New York State. She worked at the World Trade Center. She worked as a vet assistant. She was going to school in college. She wanted to be an X-ray technician. And then her and her friends decided, let's go to Europe. And Mindy's with us here today. She was on that trip. Uh, they were friends since they were like 14, 15 years old. And the four of them went off to Europe on a trip. And I think that fueled her passion for travel. I mean, she loved to travel. Talk about two opposites attracting. She really loved to travel. There was no place she didn't want to go or do. Came back from Europe, finished college, and then the day after her 20th birthday, her girlfriends wanted to take her out for her birthday. She wasn't feeling good, but her friend Mary had set up with me, who I worked with. Let's go out. We have a neat place we're gonna go. A guy at work says it's a discotheque back then. We had our leisure suits on, and we thought we looked pretty good. And Michelle was not into that at all. She totally was not into that. And they came to that club, and I met her, and I'll tell you, I knew then that was my mate. And we were up all night talking, got to know each other. And I even told her then I was leaving in a month to join the Waterbury Police Department. So she said, well, I guess this ain't going to last. But, it's funny how fate, everything meshes together. We stayed together. She tried to live up there with me for about 3 months, and there's no way. It was not a place she wanted to live. So she came back to New York, and then, either lose her or go back to New York. And that's when I joined the NYPD and moved back to New York, joined the NYPD. And about a year into that, I always the romantic that I was. We were sitting there, and I go, we should get married. And of course, she said, okay. So on August 3rd, 21st, 1976, we got married. And we were inseparable since. We did everything together. I used to tell her the best part of my day was coming home to you. To this day, that was the truth. And she knew that, and she felt the same way. And then we worked in New York. We worked 2, 3 jobs, had a good life there, and retired and moved to Durango. And that's where you guys met her. Okay. And she loved working at the airport. She thought that was the best job in the world. After all the things she'd done, she just loved working at the airport. I never understood that, but travel and people, and you want to get away from all them. But she just loved that. And then September 11th hit, and everybody's life changed. And it just wasn't the same anymore. So eventually she got past that, and but we still traveled. I mean, her passion for travel was second to none. Between hiking, water skiing, snow skiing, horseback riding, everywhere we went, travel wise. It was, she just wanted to see something different, something new, experience talking to people. She was good that way. She could interact with so many different people. I mean, we'd be out to dinner, she'd go to the bathroom. Wouldn't be uncommon for her to take 20 minutes. And it's not like she wound up striking up a conversation with someone. And, she just was able to converse with people, and people were able to converse with her because she had that honest, very honest personality where I think people related to that, and you could tell her just about anything. She was a force determined to get things done too. She set her mind to things and get out of her way. She determined, especially on the phone with all the people you deal with that want to cut you short or short you, or, if it wasn't right, Michelle wanted to make it right. That was her big thing. Uh, all the good things she had, she did have a mean streak. No, 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 you don't know about this. Every night after we ate dinner, we sat to play cards. We played 500 rummy. She did not like to lose. I can't tell you how many times throw the cards down, and I have you gotta stop this. You're too mean to me. I can't help it if you lose, but we always worked it out. We always played every night after dinner before we went and fed the horses. Uh, the horses. Thinking of that, she loved our horses. You saw the picture with her sprawled out on Winston. That was her favorite horse. Is that up there? Yeah, she loved that horse. There was. I remember her going up to Pirelli's with Sue and the girls, and the first time she rode, like she was up there, and we were with Bruce when we bought him with Maggie, and she wanted an Arabian. She liked that horse, and Bruce and Bob said, "Yeah, he's got little feet. He's not good up in the mountains. I don't know, but no, we bought Winston that day." And she went up to Pirelli, and he was a wild horse. And they had told her, "There's a little Ferrari if you put the time in." And she put the time in. I spent a lot of hours down there with her, down the round pen in the arena, working with him. And that horse, she loved that horse. He just would do anything for her. But that's the way she was. It's the animals. She loved her animals. All our kitties, and everyone's a rescue. They're all that way. And inside, we've dealt with a lot of people in our lives, and people cannot be nice. I'll put it to you that way. But Michelle was able to find nice people, and we enjoyed their company, and she was just a good person inside. And I think that resonated with the people she knew, that they knew they could always count on her. She would always be there for them even if they didn't ask. There'll be someone talking about it later on. Robin Timothy, another friend, lifelong friend, still back in New York, that just helped her in her most down times, battling cancer. And she was there every day for her before she went to work. This is just the type of person that she was. So I did write something, and I'm going to try and get through this. It's very quick. Excuse me. I wrote this the other day, and I'd like to share it with you. I thought of you today, but that is nothing new. I thought about you yesterday, and days before that too. I think of you in silence and often speak your name. Now all I have are memories and your picture in a frame. Your memory is my keepsake, with which I'll never part. I know you're out there, free from all worries. And I'll always have you in my heart, and I miss you. Thank you.
Well done, Ralph. You took good care of her.
Uh, yeah, go ahead, Brawley. This is Michelle's sister.
Hi, everybody. Ralph, that was just superb. Okay, I've been doing a lot of thinking. How do we make sense of a tragic, sudden passing of a wonderful young woman, so full of life? When the initial shock wore off, and I'm still in shock, just the initial shock wore off, I started to think about ways to find meaning in all this. And I want to share with you some thoughts that I had. Michelle and I have always been very spiritual, and we had these long, wonderful conversations about our individual life's purposes and what lessons we're supposed to learn. The age-old, why are we here kind of a thing. And we came to some meaningful conclusions, each of us, about ourselves and each other, about lessons we needed to learn, and what we needed to do to rise above trauma and disappointment and all of that. I always felt like she was my rock, but I've been hearing from people that she felt I was, and I'm really glad that we had that kind of relationship. Michelle always told me that she felt that her life was much more about quality than number of years. I've never seen anybody take better care of herself physically than my sister, but she always said it's not because I want to live to be 100, it's because I want what years I have to be productive and happy. And I understood that very, very well. She always wanted to live her life filled with zest and adventure and enthusiasm. And like Ralph was saying, she really did live the kind of life she wanted to live. It brings me comfort to know that she achieved that goal and that she was able to travel. She was in Scotland, as you probably all know, just a couple of weeks before she passed. She was at my house in New York a week before she passed. And I'm glad that we were able to achieve that. Sadly, she always told me that she felt she never could do it. She never did enough for people or animals, and she doesn't realize how much she did. In some way, wherever she might be now, I hope that she realizes now, and you can see how many lives she touched. Spiritually speaking, again, maybe she felt she could accomplish more on the other side, helping people and animals, than she could here. Just a guess. I can't explain these things. To go back a little through the years, I would like to honor Michelle with some of my fondest memories. I won't make it too long. Now, although she was literally my baby sister, she's 9 years younger than I. But starting when she was in her early teens and I was in my early 20s, we became very, very close. Very, very close. We talked about every topic under the sun. And we shared mostly the same values and views. The only thing we differed on, and this is kind of amusing, is I always loved the idea of having children, and I hated swimming and being in the water, and she was the opposite. She says, I have no patience for kids, and I love the water. But I honestly think those were the only two things we weren't in complete harmony about. our personalities were a little bit different. She was always feistier than me, and I always admired her for that. She was more assertive than me, and I admired her for that too. But she always told me she found things in me that she admired about me. So um, it was a wonderful, wonderful relationship, really. Um, I admired how spontaneous she was. Her sense of humor was incredible. I mean, she kept everyone in stitches all the time. And like Ralph said, she thrived on change. She always liked different jobs, um, traveling to different countries. That was her passion for sure. And I didn't. That actually, that's another thing we didn't share. I'm not a big traveler. Um, Another thing I admired her for, I felt she was very courageous. We were both spiritual, but maybe it did her more good than me because when my mother was terminal, she had the courage to say to my mom, "It's okay to go now." I don't think I could have had the courage to do that, honestly. Also, when her horse, Angel, not Angel, Winston, was sick, she had the courage to sit there with a dying horse and comfort that horse. And that's another thing I'm not sure I could have handled emotionally. Maybe I could. Maybe I would have surprised myself. Maybe I'm stronger than I think. But I just also admired her for that. I also wanted to add a few words about my dear brother-in-law, Ralph, because he really enriched Michelle's life with his devotion and love. He really, really did. And I think they learned a lot from each other, and they each became better people because of it. And I kind of do believe it was a marriage made in heaven, even though they had their differences, and which is normal. But Ralph and I are going to take good care of each other because we want to, and because it's what Michelle would have wanted. And the same goes for Joanna, her dear friend. We're going to stay friendly. And sorry, I'm losing my place here. Where is that? Oh, am I missing a page? Oh no, I'm sorry. A little disoriented here. Shelley, I also think of you multiple times a day, and I will continue to honor your life in everything that I say and do. Keep a seat at the table for me wherever you are until I join you in a wonderful reunion. And as we always used to say to each other on birthday cards and on the phone, thank you for choosing me to be your sister. I wrote this little poem also in closing to honor her because I feel it would honor her if we each could follow her example, the way she lived her life. Let's live our best each day with no fear of tomorrow, where living our dreams leaves no room for sorrow. Let's bring joy to others and lessen their pain, and find that our efforts only bring gain. Let's be true to ourselves and search each day for adventure and fulfillment to come our way. Let your example inspire us so when we leave this earth, our actions and words have improved its worth. Thank you all.
Josh?
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh. My parents were friends of Ralph and Michelle's, and they weren't able to be here today, so they asked me to read a letter that they wrote to Ralph on their behalf. Here it goes. Dear Ralph, we're sorry we aren't able to be here with you on the day of Michelle's service, but we wanted to share some thoughts and stories that could be shared during the service. The importance of friends is something that should be treasured, as we don't always know when our time on this earth is done. Otherwise, it's simply wasted. Michelle was a woman of many words, great stories, and could debate most topics with the best of us. We are better people for knowing Michelle and simply loving and accepting her as well her. There are some funny stories that come to mind that we always think of, and they make us smile. When Lori and I were over for dinner one night, the two of you were quite cute when she appeared from the crawl space in the basement, and Ralph scooped her up with one arm, twirled, and she saw me and said, I know, get a room. Another time, she called us to see if we'd be home, as they had something to drop off on the way out to dinner. She said, Hi, Bob, you going to be home? I have something for Lori. I have something for Josh. Sorry, I don't have anything for you, Bob. Later that day, Ralph and Michelle brought over the red turtle for Lori and orange cello for myself. Um, Still, I get a laugh every time I think of that story, and that was my gift from Michelle. Her love and passion for travel was incredible. She loved to explore, venture out, and experience other cultures, their history, and how they lived. She was never shy to ask for an airline or hotel room upgrade, and she loved making sure both of them were taken care of while traveling. We always looked forward to hearing her stories when they returned. There was always an adventure to tell. Kindness abounded for Michelle. She was always ready to share and spend her time with us. We will miss her immensely. Godspeed, Michelle. Sincerely, Bob and Lori. Thank you.
Where's Joe? Oh.
Ralph mentioned Robin Timothy, a longtime friend of Michelle's from New York, and Robin wrote a beautiful note to Ralph talking about the things they did together. My memories of Michelle Brawley. I met Shelley when I was 19 years old, and we had a connection that never wavered. Shelley was so much fun, and she had an incredible sense of humor and a kindness that was unmatched. We were introduced by a common friend, and although I have not been in touch with that person for decades, Shelley and I maintained a relationship over 4 decades long. As single women, we enjoyed times together at Benihana's, veggie dinners at her sister Helene's house, and going out with friends. When I met my husband Alex, we spent time together as couples with Shelley and Ralph, having dinner, water skiing, enjoying holidays, and swapping stories endlessly. There was never enough time to talk. Although Shelley and Ralph did not have children, they always included my 2 at their house, and my kids loved to see them, even when Ralphie, turned Drew upside down into the pond. Shelley demonstrated her devotion and commitment to our friendship in good times and bad. She was always available to cry with me in times of disaster, and she took care of me during 2 major health crises that threatened my life. She shaved my legs, washed my hair in bed, and dressed me when I was unable to care for myself. She visited me in the hospital and at home during a year-long illness and was my angel. She could bring humor and strength to me when I thought that all was lost. When Shelley and Ralph left Long Island to move to Colorado, I doubted that we would be able to maintain our relationship, and thankfully I was wrong. While we did not see each other more than once a year, we spoke and emailed enough to keep the relationship solvent. When we did see one another, it was as if we had seen each other just yesterday. I kept track of what Shelley was doing, whether she was working at the airport, teaching yoga classes, or doing real estate closings. She made many friends in Colorado, and had a great social life, as well as enjoyed herself with her horses and cats. She loved to travel, and I got my vicarious thrills from her trips. A lot of us did that. She loved her times with Ralph, and he was the love of her life. When Alex and I visited Shelley and Ralph in Colorado, We were welcomed with open arms, despite the fact that we stayed longer than intended when I fell off her horse and broke my ribs. We managed to squeeze in some good times despite that event, and we made our way to the springs and to a mining town. Shelley and Ralph welcomed my sister and her family too when they went to Colorado. I was very lucky to have Michelle in my life. I have no regrets other than not having the opportunity to speak to her again. She knew how much I loved her, and I know that she loved me. I have respect, admiration, and adoration for her and the way she lived her life. I greatly miss her and the times we could have had as older women. Her death has left an emptiness in my heart that I will have difficulty adjusting to. She was spiritual, and I hope with all my heart that she has found peace in this ending. All my love to Ralph, Colleen, Tara, Greg, Pete, and family. Robin.
If anyone else would like to come up and share a funny story or just something you want to say, you're more than welcome.
I can't believe so many people got dressed up in Durango to come today. It's amazing. More than anything, Michelle Brawley loved Ralph Brawley. She loved her family. She loved her friends. She told me so many wonderful stories about her talented mom and dad. I would have loved to have known them. Michelle spoke lovingly of her sister, Helene, and her family, and always looked forward to seeing them in New York. If you were lucky enough to be her friend, you knew she always had your back. Besides Ralphie, she passionately loved her cats and horses. They were her kids. She had a tremendous love and knowledge of this country and was always up for a discussion on current affairs. Her love of the environment was apparent to all, and she vigorously tried to make this planet better. She did exercise, yoga, was a vegetarian, and baked the best soda bread I've ever had. She especially loved lemon drop martinis from Ken and Sue's and sushi from around the world. When we would go to lunch, she would order the worst food on the menu and then say that it didn't have much taste. I wanted to slap her. Although she said that she didn't like them, I always ordered French fries and she would eat them, all of them. My sisters thought she was so funny that she could be a comedian, and we would laugh with her until we cried. She took Spanish lessons for about 12 years, just to make sure she was fluent. She was the coupon queen of the Southwest, and now Ralphie has that honor. I'm pretty sure Michelle wanted to visit every country in the world and almost did. Ralphie agreed to just about everything because he adored her. I'm Michelle with one L, and she was Michelle with two L's, and it was a joke that we shared. I knew her for over 22 years of happiness, tears, and sharing girly gossip. I'm sure at times we drove each other crazy because that's what friends do. Unquestionably, we loved each other. She frequently said that she was the fifth sister in my family. I believed her. I miss her so much, but I know I'll see her again, and she can introduce me to her remarkable parents. Durango is a little less perfect without Michelle Brawley, my best girlfriend. But more than anything, Michelle loved Ralph.
Anybody else? Well, if that's it, then I again thank you all for coming. It touches my heart, and I hopefully Michelle's looking down on us and saying the same thing. It is that was all you guys, everything. Thank you for coming up and saying that, and Josh and Joe, because I didn't want to do that. It was tough enough just doing mine. But again, thank you all for coming, and please come over to Chuck's Roadhouse. We're gonna have plenty of food there.
Lots of parking.
Lots of lots of parking. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, thank you all for coming.